Okay. I will call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Okay. We will move on with recognition of individuals, delegations, and correspondence. And that would be you ladies first. So I will let you introduce yourself so that I don't mess it up.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for coming today. So I asked Melissa and Angie to join us so that they can talk about their roles and how that has changed with the county and how we collaborate with them, because we work closely with them in some different fashions. And I think that is something that's misunderstood sometimes in the community. I can tell because they call the wrong offices, right? So I thought that'd be good for you guys to explain kind of your roles and how we are working together as a school district with the county. So please go ahead.
My name is Melissa Franks. I've been with the county for 19 years. I just was appointed in January 3rd. So Doug Ellis retired. He's no longer with us, but he'll be sorely missed. And I guess my role, as I'm learning it, is basically mostly with the schoolers, and the reports and funds for Townsend School and Three Forks.
Thank you. Yeah, so as the county superintendent, so an example of how we work together, if there's a student that hasn't come to school for a period of time, I call Melissa to make sure that they've registered with her as the county superintendent, because we want to make sure these kids don't fall through the cracks. And then if they haven't registered with Melissa, then we report them to the state so we can see what's going on. So that's kind of how we work together on those functions. So, yeah.
I'm supposed to go to the my first superintendent of schools meeting in Lewistown next week, but depending on the weather, hopefully I'll be able to make it up there. So
Awesome.
hopefully I'll learn a lot there.
I'm glad you're connected with that organization. That'll be good. So great. Well, thank you so much.
And she's also the treasurer for the county.
And all kinds of other things she didn't mention. Yeah.
My name is Angie Paulson. I am Broadwater County Clerk and Recorder, which oversees the elections for the county as well. So there are two positions, but Clerk and Recorder per statute oversees the elections. I was also appointed in January. When Doug Ellis retired, they split the office in two. I previously worked at the Secretary of State's office and was Secretary Jacobson's policy advisor. So it's really cool to be on this side of the elections, implementing them, administrating them. Obviously, I work with you guys through elections because we run the school elections when requested. And so for the board this year, we called it because we didn't have enough candidates, and that's actually happened for special purpose district candidates and precinct committee men and women. And so I was able to call off a few elections for the primary this go around. I run off of 3 election calendars. The OPI calendar is 1 of 3. So I have a busy job, a lot of deadlines to follow. So yeah, we just ordered 45,000 envelopes for this upcoming year, 2022. for absentee ballots. So just gives you a scope of what we're dealing with on elections, and there's 2 of us in the office. So, and then for the clerk and recorder, we record the official documents in the county. We also keep the certificate of surveys, which are tracts of land. So my office is like a library of Broward County's land too. And also keep resolutions and such for the governing body commissioners. So yeah, we're kind of like the Secretary of State for on the county level. That's what I do, clerk and recorder. So
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. I appreciate you guys coming tonight and just wanted everyone to kind of understand how we work together. So I know Christy and Melissa and Angie and I all talk a lot. So with Doug's retirement, just wanted to make sure everybody kind of understood how the connection works. And then we know who to refer families to, Melissa, the homeschooling families. So thank you. And don't feel obligated to stay the whole meeting. I just wanted you guys to join us for a bit. Yeah.
you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I had a quick question, please. I think some of the questions that arose, we had a special meeting regarding we had to pass a resolution for levies, which created a lot of interest in the community, of course. And some of the discussion there was around how that works. I guess we no longer have an assessor's office. I didn't even realize that, and how property taxes are assessed and how that works. Are you, either one of you, directly involved in that?
I am.
Okay.
Well, I'm also the treasurer, which I forgot to mention. And yes, I deal with all the taxes, work with the Department of Revenue. They used to be in the courthouse, the office, Department of Revenue used to be there. They left for some years and they've just recently come back. So they are in the courthouse, in the basement. They have their own office. It's a combined 3 different counties that they all work with. A lot of them are newbies.
Mm-hmm.
So they're learning basically pretty much like I am some of this stuff too. So questions regarding any of that, you can come to speak with us, Department of Revenue, myself, the commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some people in here asking about the relationship between the mill levies, the school bond, the growth of the county, the expanding tax base, how that all works, why they, one of the questions, why do I see my taxes still going up if the tax base is expanding and things of that nature. So,
Yep. You can definitely come and speak. It'd probably be best to speak. Huh?
Send them all to you.
Yeah. Basically, what I would be doing is saying, because I may have been with the county for 19 years, but this is stuff that I wasn't privy to. And I'm learning as we go. I know a lot, but not enough. So I would really, if somebody comes in and asks questions, I would be taking them down to talk with the Department of Revenue and including commissioners, so we can all kind of learn it at the same time. But definitely would have to have Department of Revenue involved in that too.
Okay.
Yeah, and being that they are very easy to work with, talk to. So I'm really glad they're back in our county.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Any other correspondence?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on, elementary building project. I'm going to read an email today because Rich and Shane didn't venture out on the roads from Billings. It was pretty nasty down that way. So I just got this in between meetings, and it's just kind of a bullet point email that says main project is on schedule. Budget is holding with good balance on our contingency. Still need to be conservative for the cut in and renovation to middle school. Middle school mechanical premium project awarded equipment. Should be a comma there. Mechanical premium project awarded, equipment ordered, and anticipated to arrive in time to complete the project by fall. Elementary demolition planning to start right after school is out. Salvage and moving continues to be coordinated with the school district. Roofing contracts in place for library and middle school re-roof insurance project. Construction on library to start May 2nd. Work is coordinating with DAC project so as not to cause any delays between the two. High school ESSER projects awarded, contract signed, equipment delivery midsummer, working on scheduling with the district. Asbestos abatement for the high school ESSER project is being coordinated with the district, again, not to interfere with the district summer schedule. If I remember from the earlier meeting, that bid for that asbestos abatement will be next Tuesday. They will have that number. Other than that, if anybody's got any other questions,
Yeah, there was a cost from industrial hygiene on the late payment that came out today. Was that the testing?
I think that was the
abatement
testing
project?
for the
Oh, okay.
abatement project. Yep.
Did they do testing in the middle school too?
Yes, for
Okay.
both where we have to cut the building
Yeah.
and then also for the high school.
And I was surprised that they're going to start on the roof already in May on the library.
Yeah, they figured the library will be done in May. They will start May 2nd, should be done by the end, and then they'll move around and start on middle school right after school's done.
Yeah, and it's getting more and more complex as we get closer, all the scheduling.
There's a lot going on.
Because, yeah, we'll have the flooring from the flood that we're doing in the back hall. So we're working on, the HVAC, the new HVAC that's going in there, working that around the flooring and all the different components and trying to keep the weight room open as long as possible for Mr. Rao. So, yeah, it's complicated. And I did send out in my family letter this week just that we'll try to keep everybody as informed and keep everyone as posted as possible. But the main entrance for the summer will be the Cedar Street entrance next to my office and the weight room over there, because there'll be a lot going on up here.
I guess the next ones are yours, upcoming events.
And these are actually Sherry's.
Yeah, Mrs. Ellen and Superintendent Ellen has seen these on previous reports, and I know with COVID situations and all of that, change that we had the last few years of either not having them out or really changing them up. As far as we understand and know, we're planning to roll as regular as we always have with prom and with graduation, unless there are obviously any reasons not to. Have been asked by senior parents if we're rolling that way, but I think our inclination is everything else has gone that way, including concerts and all of that stuff. So they're excited. The kids we did give them the option of going back and forth between either like we did last year, because the outdoor prom was well received last year over in the park. People really liked that a lot, but I think they, rooted in tradition. I think they want to get back to their normal routine for those kinds of events. So they're planning on the gym like we have in the past with the big grad march and all of those things. And it is April 30th, I think it's on the list of events. So coming quickly, a little later than normal, which is good. They kind of put it in between May and March, which is kind of nice. So we found a pretty good date there, we think. And then, it will be lovely to open the doors to graduation and go, welcome, everybody come in. Love to have you all. So we're excited for that. And I think the talk with, senior parents were asking about if we were going to do the reverse parade, and obviously we started that to just have something for the kids because we couldn't open the doors wide for graduation and have that many people in there. So I think the overall feeling was to just go back to like we've always traditionally done with graduation, and that way kids can get to their parties and then their all-night party after they graduate and those kinds of things. So if that's good with everybody, that's what we're looking at. Planning is underway. We're rolling.
Thank you. Yeah, I know the students have been very involved, and some parents and teachers as well and helping them getting those plans done. So I appreciate all the work that has gone into that. And it was fun to have a couple of the high school girls stop by and show me pictures of their prom dresses today. So I know they're all very excited to get to have dances again. And just one reminder for staff and for community, if there's anybody that needs anything, we did have some dresses donated, and we do have a grant that would help provide anything that families need for prom or graduation that they might not have. So just want to throw that out to make sure that everyone can participate in those that would like to. So thank you.
Committee meeting reports. Yes, we had our first classified negotiations meeting today, as most people saw. It was a good meeting. Didn't quite get to the end of it, of course, in 1 hour, but we got off to a good start, and we'll continue to do some work and get that one finished up hopefully before too long. Policy meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, the 19th, here at 5 o'clock. Chris Goss with MTSBA will be here to basically go through everything that they've done and reviewing updating our policies.
Will there be policy review material available prior to the meeting?
I do not know that.
So the list, did you guys receive the list of each policy and then his recommendation next to it? So I need to send that out. Okay. So he did create an index, I guess I would call it, of the policies, and then, stay the same, needs updated per law, duplicate, those kinds of notes. So I can send that out. So we can get started looking at those before the meeting.
Are they noted on the title, or do we have to look within them just to see if they'll be updated or stay the same? Is it?
It was on
Now,
one.
it's now.
Yeah, it's kind of an outline.
In a spreadsheet,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It listed the policy number and then what. If he made
what
a
we should
change.
do with it. Okay, great, thank you.
And then upcoming committee meetings, we will possibly have an activities committee meeting coming up. So we need to set a date with you guys for that. We need to get the curriculum committee back together, and we need to also have a safety committee meeting. So those are ones that we have coming up that we need to schedule.
That's a tech meeting tomorrow? Or did I get
And
that
there's a
right?
tech meeting,
That's
yes.
right. I did, okay.
So lots of committee meetings.
It's the season.
Okay.
So I'll be reaching out to the members of those committees to schedule.
Very good. Moving on. Consent action items, minutes and warrants.
Having reviewed it, I would move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
A second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
And that would include both March 8th and March 29th.
The only thing, Christie, I noted on that special board meeting, it's listed as a regular board meeting too. We probably just need to change that.
I can change that.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, you're right.
Okay, any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Action items, approved FCCLA National Conference.
Do you want me to speak on that briefly, or? do you need-
Absolutely.
Okay, is that my time now? Okay, so last month, we had a very successful state leadership conference. Sherry actually was able to join us and judge an event, so that was really cool to have her there. I brought 6 girls with me, 4 participated in workshops. I lied, I brought 7 girls with me. 4 participated in workshops and then 3 of them competed. And so Reese Wolfgram, who gave her presentation to you guys a couple of months back, actually took first in her competition. So she qualified for the National Leadership Conference in San Diego. And then Kaylee Knob and Caitlin Olson also did really, really well in their competition, and they took second and qualified for their events in nationals. So nationals this year is the 28th through the 4th in San Diego, California. At this conference, they participate in leadership trainings. They obviously present their projects while they're there, and we do have quite a bit of fun. So if you guys would approve us to go to that conference in July, I would really, really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me?
You have a lot of fundraisers planned, I saw.
Yes, be ready to buy some cookie dough and get your car washed and hopefully eat some spaghetti. So yes, we have a lot of work to do before we can get there, but we need some approval first. So
I would just like to commend Shay and the girls and her program, the FCCLA program. It's grown and been very successful over the past few years under her tutelage as well, and she had a good program that she got handed to her, and she kept it rolling and definitely kept it at the high level of expectations that we would have. So just appreciate all of her hard work, and the girls did a fantastic job. So it was fun.
yeah, they make my job easy. So
Well, I move to approve the attendance of the National Leadership Conference in San Diego.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve the attendance of the National Leadership Conference in San Diego. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Point Prickly Pear Co-op Board Representative.
So this is just a formality that takes place every year, and you guys have always appointed the superintendent in the past, and I'd be happy to continue in this work. I have really enjoyed working with the new representative, or our new co-op director, Mariah Pace. She's done an excellent job. She was a superintendent previously, and we've worked together in many different capacities, and she's doing a really good job with the co-op. So I think we're lucky to be a part of that, and it's really nice to connect also with the other superintendents at that meeting. I usually always catch up with Dan Rispens and others, and we get to kind of problem solve together on similar issues. So I would be happy to continue doing that.
I'll move to appoint Susie Hedelin as the co-op board representative beginning July 1st, 2022.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Susie Hedlund as the Co-op Board Representative beginning July 1st, 2022. Any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Approved health vision, and actually, we're going to table this one. Is that correct? We're waiting on some rates. They're actually going to be here in May to present. Is that
Yep.
the tentative? Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're just going to leave that one where it's at. And move on.
Yeah. However, our chairman did have a good idea of possibly having a special meeting. I know we don't want to have too many meetings, but we were worried with multiple carriers coming to present that it could turn into a long meeting if we have a lot of other business. So we'll keep you posted on that.
So there'll be multiple carriers at
The current carrier, and there's also a competing.
That's going to present various quotes. So, yeah, because we did have our current insurance company did have a rate increase. We did ask for some comparisons.
we want those so you're saying we'll have those at different times or the same night?
Well, that's what we're wondering is if we. I guess I don't know how to answer that. Right at the moment, they're talking about coming on the same night.
At our next board meeting.
Next board.
Yeah, right.
We were wondering about splitting it and making it a meeting by itself, if that would make more sense. But yes, at the moment, they're both planning to come at the same
It might be fun.
Might be advantageous.
Might be advantageous.
Yeah. We can
Well, the presentation's usually around about 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
We can put a cap on it too. I had to do that with the printer presentations. So, yep.
So it will either be at the May meeting unless we decide a special meeting. Okay, moving on. Personnel.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, would anyone object to going to 3.5 first? Since we've already been talking about policy review. And then if we had guests here that didn't want to sit through the long list of our personnel duties, they could leave. Okay.
Clear down.
This one, clear. Possible, okay.
Take it away.
Okay, so I just wanted to start off with, as we just discussed, and thank you for allowing flexibility in the agenda. I don't want to make everyone sit through our long work of our personnel spring meeting. So for policy review, we have, as you know, been working with MTSBA. And so Chris Goss has, as we talked about, gone through our policies and made recommendations on all of them and how we can move forward to clean up our policies and bring them up to date and improve them. So we will have recommendations from him on changing language to make sure that they meet current law, make sure that we don't have duplication throughout our policies, make sure that we have all policies that are required, or just bring some up to date. And also, if there's things that could be changed to reflect our community, like a more rural view. So we will have those recommendations and go through them policy by policy. And the board will be adopting those policies. It will probably take us more than one time, so we'll see how much work we can get done. This would be the first reading of those policies. They will be read more than once. This will take place on April 19th at 5 o'clock here in the community room as a special school board meeting, since we'll have multiple board members in attendance to do those reviews. And there is also going to be, as you know, we've been talking about updating the handbooks. So as soon as we get those policies adopted, then Chris will help us to work through our handbooks to make sure that they align and we don't have any policies that contradict with information in our handbooks. And then another task that we have is updating the Townsend School District Crisis Procedure Manual, which you got handed out. We did update it. We didn't make any major changes. However, we did get it updated to reflect current phone numbers and all of that. And the last update was in 2018. So also wondering if we need to add any language or situations. The crisis procedure manual, when I worked at the state, it was a really interesting process to work through because they tell you to plan for things that are likely in your neck of the woods. I think we have tornado in here, which, I mean, there's been one in Billings, but it's not, but so it's kind of an overall, in the trainings I've been to, they kind of tell you to plan for overall state of emergency crisis. I would say ours is pretty bare bones, like kind of just has the basics in it. And I know that each of the administrators, when I went and visited with them and the board chair about what they had for safety and crisis planning in the district, since I'm new, shared with me more detailed, like FEMA wasn't the one you shared with me from, who was that from? That was from FEMA. Yeah. So you guys all had some more detailed manuals that were put out by other organizations in case of certain events. So those are things we can look at. But we've also been talking a lot in our safety meetings. And I know Ms. Hartman has talked a lot about, with the new school, it being an important time for us to kind of update our safety plans, especially I noticed in here the part being kind of vague and interesting about how students leave school. And that's something that with the new school and kind of the new safety door opportunities we have, we'd like to be a little more rigorous and take a little more action on how we're checking students out of school, especially at those younger ages. I know it's always been a, nice small community feel, but it's a bit scary being this close to the highway and with things changing and the traffic we have. So just want to make sure that we have really up-to-date safety plans as safe as possible. So those are different areas that we've been looking at. We've also had some incidents occur at the school, which I have informed you of, in which we found out that we could have done a better job of, the chain of communication and making sure that we inform parents in a certain fashion, and then figuring out kind of, when law enforcement's brought in and all those different kinds of things. And the thing that makes it really difficult in those situations is it's never black and white. I mean, every situation is so unique. There's no way you can plan for every instance. So it's important to have vague but good, directions. And in our policies, we have some flow charts for under some of those situations, like weapons and drugs and intruders and some of those different kinds of things. So, and they help, but we found that they left out certain parts. So as we do our policy review and our safety review, those are things that we've made note of to make sure that we add. And then, of course, when we call the safety committee together, I think it'd be great to involve some parents from the community to help us and to get some feedback on some of those different ideas that we have for how we dismiss students from school or how we handle those challenging situations. So that's where I'd like to see us go with that.
Just to settle in, it might come of some use to you, but I guess it would have been about 3 years ago now. Mike Conkey, who was our disaster and emergency services coordinator at the time, Mr. Wilkerson and I were actually working on a pretty substantial overhaul of the crisis manual. And with the bond election and construction of the new school kind of in the future, that had been put on hold. And luckily I saved every email because that's just the nature of my work. And I've got all of the draft documents and my red line documents and correspondence and concerns from Mr. Conkey at the time, because there are a lot of things that should be pulled from our crisis manual, things that need to be added in. And I kind of took just a top to bottom, review of it, just, and all that kind of thing. So we compared it with, we actually got approval from a couple different school districts to emulate their crisis manuals that we're looking at. Knoxon was one, there are a couple others that were actually done real well. And so, I'd be happy to.
So you're the one that had it.
He's the one.
I've been tracking it. I've heard of this. Okay.
But I'm happy to, provide that to you and, print that stuff out and, we can have a meeting, sit
Great.
down with you and we can kind of go over some of those kinds of things and
Excellent.
the issues, because Mike sat in on a couple of our board meetings and provided some pretty valuable input. And so, yeah, I think that
Great.
is something that can be resurrected with, minimal effort and
Excellent. Yeah, there's
the Word 97 clip art and things like that.
yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there, but I heard that you guys had been working on one, so I was trying to find that because this is that 2018 one was the only one I could find.
It was actually a 2014 update. 2014 was last time any substantive work was done.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I did know on the Teacher Learning Hub there is a course that a safety committee of a school can take that goes through kind of each set of each step of creating one. And there's draft ones out there, but I had heard that some work had been done. So I'd been kind of trying to figure out where we were at. So excellent. Yeah, and then we can see where we're at with that and which way we need to move forward. So
Yeah, and like I say, now we've got a very clear idea of where everything is at for the new facilities, the upgraded facilities, the yet to be upgraded facilities. We'll be able to, I think, draft that into it and have something that works consistently.
right. Well, I appreciate that. I think that we can't be careful enough, and I appreciate that we have these children's lives in our hands during the day, and we take that responsibility very seriously, and we want to do everything we can to make sure everyone's safe at school. And so we take that seriously and want to step it up and make sure we have everything in place that we need moving forward. So and look forward to working with all of you on that and where you left off, and also working with families and the community. We have had a really great collaboration with our local sheriff's department, and so we do have good plans in place. They have current keys. We have done all of those walkthroughs and all those kinds of things. So that's an important step, they say, to any crisis and prevention planning. So that is nice that we have that really close-knit relationship established with them. So that's all I have.
All right, I would like to take something. Do I need to introduce myself?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I'm Kelsey Mose. I have 2 children in kindergarten and first grade, and I would like to address this section of terrorism, violence, and civil unrest as regards to an active shooter or an attacker. Sorry, everybody was more nervous, but a couple weeks ago, we know that there was an incident on the bus where my children were involved, and my children reported it and saw it. When looking at this section where we talk about an active shooter and violence, there's 5 bullet points that have 0 definition. There's no real plan or purpose or plan of action if something is to happen. It says alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. That means nothing. And obviously, because your failure to plan ended up in failure. My children were put in a very bad situation. I wasn't notified. First, the police weren't notified until 5 days after. That's unacceptable. A knife was pulled on students on a bus, and the police weren't notified. This child threatened to stab other kids. That's not acceptable at all. Second, I wasn't notified until 5 days later, even though my child is the one that reported it. My child was interviewed the day after, and I wasn't notified until 5 days later. She is 7 years old. Completely unacceptable. I was only notified when the school called to let me know that the cops were interviewing my child. Yeah, I wish I would have known, because she was a wreck all weekend and I didn't know what questions to ask her. I didn't know something happened on the bus to even ask her if she was okay. But she's 7 years old. She thought by telling the bus driver what was happening, that was all she had to do. She informed an adult, like she's taught to at school, but nothing else followed up that. After that, I found out on the Tuesday after the incident that happened on Thursday that my child's teacher was not informed of the situation. And I'm not saying that you need to give her personal information about every single thing that happened, but you all don't know my child's emotional well-being on a day-to-day basis. That's not your job, but it is her teacher's job to know her emotional state. And she knows that my child wears her heart on her sleeve and was so upset, and she didn't know the questions to even ask her. How am I supposed to trust that
You guys are taking care of my child's emotional well-being, her physical well-being, her educational well-being. If she's not informed, her teacher let me know that secrets are kept from her. And there was other teachers that told me this too, that this wasn't a one-time thing. And they all let me know that I was able to share that because they felt as though that they weren't able to best support my child, multiple other children that were involved in the incident. Reading through this, I feel like when I ask questions, we've had meetings, I came in and we talked over the phone and an email. It wasn't until I asked in an email to speak to board members about this specific issue that I was finally given this document. I've asked for procedures, I've asked for everything, and I feel like I was given the runaround. Like, I trust you guys every single day to take care of my children. Put them on that bus, I send them to school to be educated and kept safe. And by not having a plan, you guys failed my kid. Not just my kid, but the other kids that weren't notified either. There's plenty of parents that I've talked to that have told me, oh yeah, the school said that they sent out an email about it. They still haven't gotten an email. I even came in and I checked my email on Infinite Campus. It's correct. I've not got an email. There was not a phone call sent out. I found out 5 days later. It could have been a simple phone call on Thursday or Friday morning saying, hey, there was an incident on the bus. It's been rectified. Your children are safe. If you have any questions, please call me. That's it. I'm asking for open communication. I'm asking for a better plan. This doesn't say if there's a shooter at the school. This doesn't say if there's a shooter on a bus. This doesn't say if a knife is pulled at school outside on recess. What are the real plans? I need to know my kids are kept safe every single day. I trust you guys with that. I trust their teachers through and through. When I send my kids to this school, I know that those teachers are keeping my kids at the top of their priority every single day. I feel as though we were failed as parents. I feel as though my children were failed. And that's what I have to say.
Just a couple notes, and we have talked and we truly apologize. And like I said, we learned from the unique experience how we could do things differently. And one of the things that I noticed, as well as the policy, I thought at least had a lot more detail in it about including law enforcement and those kinds of steps. So that policy has been used and referenced throughout the situation. Obviously, this doesn't have much meat to it, like we talked about. And so that definitely needs to be addressed. And I wasn't trying to give you the runaround. I was sharing policies and information. I'm sorry I didn't have all the information, and we do need to have that up to date and in proper place. So we did send out a message to all families on the bus through Infinite Campus, and I did get a report of who it was sent to. So I don't know if it was a technical error.
My child was on that bus and I did not receive it.
Okay.
And there was another child as well that the parent
Yeah.
who was told that she got an email. She doubted herself in the moment because she was like, okay, maybe I didn't get that email. Went double, triple checked,
Right.
everything. No email.
Okay. So I will be more careful about utilizing that system. Obviously, I was doing that to try to get it out as quick as possible because you had just let me know that there was a lot of parents that weren't informed. And that way it's a blast out to everybody. So that's what I tried to do. So I'll work with Mr. Gill and Mr. Carr to figure out how we can, what went wrong there, because we did try to do that. Otherwise, I have no problem calling all the parents, but it would have taken me the evening. So, and then it's hard when you call one and then one's on the tail end. So anyways, we, went through a very thorough process, and we agree it could have been handled in a more timely manner and handled differently, and we could have done better at notifying parents, but it was very challenging because of the uniqueness of the position and of the situation, and the investigation. And what we didn't know when everything first unfolded. So there was a bit of a curve there, and us getting the knowledge we needed and knowing what we needed to know and knowing then who to involve and notify. So
I feel like that is an excuse though, because on Thursday, I should have been told that there was something that happened on the bus. My children were in danger.
mhm.
I should have been notified. I don't need to know the details of what's going on with the other children involved. I don't need to know the investigation. I need to know my kids are safe.
We just need a heads up saying, hey, something happened on the bus.
Right.
Within 24 hours,
At
not
the very least.
5 days later in the middle of the day when we're all busy and then
I
all of a
get-
sudden we have to run to the school because the cops are interviewing the kids.
Yeah, I get a phone call saying the cops are here to talk to your daughter. My first reaction was about what?
Yeah, we
Can
had
you
no
all
idea.
imagine if your children were on that bus and you got a phone call in the middle of the day, 5 days later saying your child's about to be interviewed and you're like, about what happened? And then you still don't know until you get there and you're in the interview process with your 7-year-old child? Like, it's just completely unacceptable.
I agree.
I don't, like, I understand that you guys call the police and there's an investigation for that child, but there was a deadly weapon pull. The police, we're taught as adults, if you see a gun, you call the cops. If you see a knife pulled on somebody, you call the cops. Like, I don't understand how that's 5 days later. I even asked the sheriff's department and made sure that it was. And I was told that they were confused as to why they were called so late as well. And I just feel as though this ball was dropped because there's no plan. This
Well, there's-
isn't anything.
And there's the automated phone system that we get the random phone calls saying school's gonna be out early or whatever. You could have picked the parents on the bus and said, like what we said earlier, hey, there was an incident on the bus, everything's fine.
That's what I tried to do with the email, and I'm guessing maybe what happened is a lot more complicated if it's like a unique group like that, because we already have everyone in there set up by classrooms or grade levels, or like I can do an all calls, what we call them, to the elementary or the middle school, or like to Mrs. Howell's class. But with that bus list being kids from all over the school, I'm guessing that's maybe where something fell apart.
But even
But-
when it's something so emergent, coming down to an email, let's be honest, not everybody checks their email all day long. It's not hooked to everybody. People aren't sitting there checking their email. This was a knife. It could be a gun the next time. I feel like sometimes we act like this is just a small town and we don't have to be as vigilant. It can happen anywhere. Obviously, it just did. This is emergent. I want to know, right, as soon as you have that information, which I know you've had to have because the bus driver reported it, and if that didn't happen, then why? Because we have no plan. We have no bus plan either. But that should have been within Thursday night, and if that couldn't happen Thursday night, Friday morning, because I will tell you right now, I would have never sent my child on that bus Friday morning had I known what had just happened.
Was that child still allowed on the bus? Even after?
That's taken care of. But that's,
I've got a question around this, and I also just apologize for the situation. It's, and in delays shouldn't happen, as it did. But I guess my question is around this because this, we fall back on policies and what to do's, you know. And so the question is a couple questions. So there's some of these areas that probably need to be prioritized to be updated, and some that can fall back a little bit. What's your time frame around updating, you know, these prioritized areas, these prioritized sections in this crisis manual?
I'd like to call a safety committee, like I said in the email that I sent out to you guys, and invite parents to help us. And I appreciate that she has volunteered to and told me that in email that they'd be happy to participate. And I think that we need that input and feedback, and that'd be great to hear. So I'd like to get on top of it as soon as possible, especially with the safety parts. And even in our policy review, I made notes of the policy that we used to guide us through this situation didn't have, it did say to contact law enforcement. It did not say to notify families involved. We did have a dangerous, a safety situation this fall also that I worked with Mr. Rock on. And in that case, I happened to be at the school law conference with Bia Kalava. And so I said, this is the situation that happened at the school. Here's what we're thinking we need to do, the steps we need to take. And kind of just on the fly, because Brad called me right away and we got on it. And she did say, you need to notify any of the parents of the children that were threatened in the incident. And so that's something, for example, we want to add to that policy when we review it.
So and that'll be next week. That policy will be next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Mm-hmm.
Next Tuesday night.
Yeah. Because in the policy, in the flow chart, it says, if this kind of a scenario happens, you do this, you do this, you do this. If it branches, and then there's branches, for different kinds of ways it can go. Like we said, they can all be very different situations. And it does come to contacting law enforcement, but it doesn't say anything about notifying parents of the child who, has the weapon, or parents of the that were exposed to the weapon or threatened with the weapon, for example.
So, and not to say that there's anything, around this particular situation, but there are legal ramifications for us as well. If those policies don't follow the correct procedures.
Right. And like I said, I knew from Elizabeth Kalava that we needed to notify those parents, and from our previous experience, it's just kind of common sense, but we did verify that legally, Mr. Rock and I, this fall when we were dealing with a different situation. And in this case also, we did notify those parents that were directly involved. And then as we did the investigation, found out that there were more parents that we needed to notify and should have notified sooner.
The final question I would ask is, or maybe not the final, but one of the questions I would ask would be, once we get the email or the call deal sorted out, would it be helpful to run some tests and just get some people responding back, just to ensure that these groups are being contacted? Yeah,
and we could definitely do that with the safety committee. Maybe we could do some practice calls. I know the all calls have worked, and I usually ask Miss Sangre, because she's in the office next to me, if she got the all call I put out.
But the unique groups, that's kind of the issue in this case.
Yeah, I don't know where it went wrong.
Perhaps.
Yes, so there's definitely some flaws in using the Infinite Campus contact system. And I know that in the past, there has been incidents where parents' emails aren't in there correctly, or a phone number might not be completely up to date. I know that at the end of when they run the reports, I'm not intimately involved in running these reports or making this happen, but I know from visiting with Luke about it that, we do get a record of who it was sent to, like Mrs. Edelman had said. However, we don't know whether that information is correct or not, because, whoever entered it in may have entered it in wrong. It's not a flawless system, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I did get a report, so I don't know, Luke and I will have to work on where it went wrong, because, and I do agree with you that the email maybe wouldn't have been the best way. Usually when we do an email one, like if there's too much content, then we do the voice recording that says, please check your email. The school has sent an urgent message, right? Isn't that how it usually comes through? Something to that regard. And then, or as a text, it's just hard to attach too much language in there.
That's why I said,
So.
if it's just,
there's an incident, your children are safe,
Mm-hmm.
please call us if you have questions, or be on the lookout in your email.
Yeah.
Like, it's too easy. It's too easy to openly communicate and effectively communicate. Your child is safe, but something happened. We're working on it.
Yep.
Well, and I know you folks would like, I guess, and deserve to hear, those steps that we plan to take, and you are, and we are, and I would just share also that we could, one of those things we could do is pull those names out of Infinite Campus into a special list, drop them into a kind of like an email distribution list, and have them ready on a per bus kind of basis. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, and Infinite Campus makes it real easy to do a lot of this stuff. Like I said, the biggest problem is I think a lot of that information isn't, there's some information that may have been lost or it's not.
It's not accurate. Yeah.
And I know that there's some common flaws that Luke's ran into in the past that he's brought up on previous incidents where there's been kind of missing information, and we don't necessarily know how many people have actually received some of this stuff either. So it's kind of, there's definitely flaws in the system that need to be addressed.
Well, I think going back even a step further, this is kind of beside that point, is when we get the data to go into Infinite Campus, make sure it's accurate. Because if it's missing going in, it's not going to be there.
We send paperwork home at the beginning of every year with all of the child's family and contact information. And we ask the families to review it and send it back if there are any changes that need to be made. So if the parents are looking at the paperwork that comes home, we should hopefully get some of
Can get
the
lost in there.
input errors taken care of.
And, just along with that, and granted, and I'm just saying that if you want to be thorough, where there's holes in that data that you get back, just to follow up and make sure there isn't holes.
Could you even do like some test emails and just do a test email and see how many people respond back?
Well, and yeah, we learned, like I said, we learned a lot from the situation as well. Like another component of that is how we communicate with the bus drivers. It's unique for me than some of the districts I've been in where we contract out with our buses. So, the bus driver's not walking in the school after the kids get off. It's a little bit different. So I think we all talk to them about different students or things that are going on. Probably Christina the most because of with unique things with the little ones, but or they'll call and let the offices know, like Wanda or someone know if their bus is running late, for example. But we maybe need to have a more concise chain of command kind of understanding of how we communicate together.
Is this manual, is it being passed out to like the bus drivers and like the playground workers too? Does everyone get a copy or?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, we need to have a much stronger version and then make sure it's widely distributed and on the website front and center and all of those things.
I was actually going to touch on that just for everyone's, comfort levels to hopefully be, put at a better state. There's a lot of talk of policies and procedures and implementing and changing and whether you vote them in or not. How often do you actually sit down with staff and go over them and actually train for them?
So we do have safety committee meetings regularly, and then
Every staff?
and then in the summer we do the safety trainings. So we do different topics each summer. So this summer we did CPR and first aid.
So
Everybody in the building
just the summer.
Before school starts, those professional development days, and then we have what was it, January? We had another one. Yeah, we have them throughout the school year, that days that we have set aside for all staff to be trained. So we did have all, everyone from our kitchen to custodians to teachers' aides, playground to teachers to us administrators get CPR, first aid, and AED certified this summer. So
And that part is great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like the CPR, all that training, all of that
Mhm.
stuff. But when it comes to the pitfall that happened here,
yeah,
it happened happened kind of toward the top. It didn't really happen at the teachers. So I mean, like, what happened? So.
I think what he's just trying to say is I think that there's kind of a gap of, I think everybody should have the same info
Mm-hmm.
and the same training, I guess, from
Yeah.
the bus drivers all the way up.
Yeah.
To make everything more consistent in the future.
And I heard you,
Having taught myself, actually, so in an actual violent environment, potentially violent environment, everyone knew what to do. From the maintenance workers, just like you said, and I hope that's happening. But from the maintenance workers to the corrections officers, to the cleaning staff, to the nurses who work in the facility.
And it's not reflected in this piece at all, but we've had a couple of rounds of active shooter training, all staff. I mean, we have gone through those things. I know it's poorly reflected, very well pointed out. It's
Yeah.
very poorly reflected in a lot of our policies and that, but we have gone through a lot of those situations too, so.
And communication is a huge part of that, right? Like coming from the environment that I worked in and I still currently work in, there are certain situations where we have to notify family members within a certain time frame, whether we physically have to drive to their last known or hopefully known location.
mm-hmm.
For instance, in the military, it's 48 hours if a soldier passes away, whether you have to physically be on their doorstep. That's still a pretty good grace period, I think. We try to do it within a day, but so it doesn't always happen. So this is one example, an email is great, but you hit the send button, and then you never know if it's actually gonna make it to that person, or if that person's checking their email on a daily basis.
Yep, I definitely agree.
Couple that with a call and then a text to check out the additional information within the email. That it's more helpful, more thorough, and more timely.
But for these matters that are urgent, emergent, step one, contact. It's okay, there is a situation. Like, we're not violating FERPA, we're not violating individuals, right to privacy by acknowledging that there was an incident that's under investigation, but your child is all right. And so for those, and please accept my apologies. That's right. Know your girls. They're good girls. They're great kids, and yeah, that is something that is a shortcoming. Crisis manual is a very broad brush because you could active shooter situation. You could come up with a booklet just on active shooter, and so these are enough to give a structure and be able to follow a step through it. But yes, I completely agree that the first step should be contact parents, acknowledge that there was an incident, and give it a shorter report. Green light, red light, things are, we're in a lockdown situation, whatever that might be, and get that information out. So, considering I had, say, a little bit of experience as we were going into the building project, I'm, can do it, and I can personally guarantee, I'm happy to get everything we need to the committee and make it a priority for us.
And who do we have on the safety committee?
I sent it out to all of you guys because I wasn't sure who all would want to be involved. And it's kind of an interesting one because it falls under a few of the different groups. Yeah. So that's
obviously nothing any of us are going to say tonight is going to fix the way you feel. With that said, I regret the way you feel. I regret the way your child felt. We will address this, and we will
That's
fix
all I
it.
want. I want to know going forward.
I appreciate you having the courage and the strength, to come in. I know it's not easy. It's not easy for us to hear about our failure, but we acknowledge it and we will address it. And so I thank you for taking the time to come and do that. And I honestly, truly regret that any child, any parent feels the way you do right now, and we will fix it.
Thank you. That's all we hope for from this. I don't ever want to get that phone call that something worse happened. And if I can help take steps to change that now, that's worth it.
I appreciate you working with us and volunteering to help. I think that your input and feedback is really important, and I mean it, that, I want you to be involved, and that we can do better, and we know we can, and we will do better for your children in the future. I just want to clarify, I didn't mean to be making excuses, because there's no excuse, but I think that like I said, every situation's unique, and we learned, and we're going to do better. And with your help and input, we'll all work together on some better guidelines as well that will be here, whether any of us, are in the future or not, so that there's things put in place and we can bring that into our training. So thank you all for your feedback.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you.
That brings to mind something we talked about at a previous meeting. I think Amanda Hazlett and Jennifer Beatty talked about,
ACEs.
I think, it was like a handle with care.
Handle with care.
You had
yeah.
mentioned something, and again, this doesn't apply to your situation, but you said something about the teachers being closest to your child,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
sometimes you don't need to say much. And there was, I was just wondering if we ever implemented something where you could just say, you don't have to say anything more than they had a rough day, except for the handle with care or whatever. And then just something that the teacher would know, okay, she needs a little more grace, a little more attention, or something like that.
That was a big thing when my daughter's teacher found out from me that I didn't know about the situation. And she's sitting there tearing up, feeling awful, because, we live in a small town. I know her outside of school. I'm friends with her, and she felt horrible. And she feels the same way as I feel about her. When I am not there, she is the parent that my child doesn't have physically right there. She's with my kid every single day. She knows pretty much everything about her. Like, she would have known more about how to handle the situation with my child had she known that there had just been something that happened, and maybe she just needed to ask more questions about what was going on. And she didn't need to know the entire situation. She just needed to know that my child needed extra care. And maybe, and you guys didn't know the whole situation at the time, maybe my child did know more information and didn't feel comfortable telling anybody but her teacher. But her teacher didn't know about the situation to ask. And I feel like that's, and I was told from multiple teachers that they felt like they couldn't help any of the children in the situation because they felt like they were being gaslighted and told oh, we can't ask this information, or we're not going to be told the information. So I feel that that's just an important thing. They're with our kids every single day. They know everything about them.
Yeah, it does make it challenging in a small community and that kind of thing, where we also are trying to protect, that child and that family's rights to privacy. So it's hard. Usually they say to let, the teachers know of the children that are directly involved. I see how you're saying that connection is made. And the handle with care is something that we could extend to the teachers or figure out how we work with more on letting them know. So far how it works is Officer Harris would call and let us know. They just say the student's name and handle with care. If there was a domestic disturbance that night or something. So it's between the sheriff's office notifying the school. And then we would let the teachers know, and usually ask Mr. S to follow up with the kids, that kind of thing. So this is just, like we said, a little bit different situation than that, but would also be something we could extend that kind of practice to.
At what point would the school counselor be involved or the health person?
Like in the current circumstance, we did get the school counselor involved. And I guess other people, just so you kind of know how that goes, we did have, and in both instances that we've had this year that were at this level, we immediately have the child picked up, or contact the parents, and then we schedule a threat assessment, so they're not allowed to attend school until we have a threat assessment completed with the school psychologist. And so there's all different steps that we take depending on the scenario.
As far as the kids who were exposed to that, the other kids on the bus.
So that's when we talk to the parents of the children that were involved, and we see how they're feeling or how the kids are doing, or if the teacher sees signs, then we offer that to the parents as a solution, or a support, I should say.
I guess I question though, like, how would the teacher, if the teacher doesn't know that your child was involved in any kind of situation, they might miss those signs.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
my child's teacher missed those signs only because she had no idea what was going on. And she even told me, she's like, I would have been able to address things possibly had I known there was something going on. And like I said, I understand that child's right to privacy. That is, I'm not questioning that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But having at least a knowledge that something happened, you're in your classroom, you have 2 children that were involved in this thing that happened. Can you keep a closer eye on them? Can you make sure they're okay? If they act out in class, how are we supposed to know that they need counseling or extra help if we don't know something happened to them? I feel like that's where my child's teacher was upset, because she felt like she couldn't help her and felt awful that she couldn't help her.
Yeah, we've definitely worked on communication this year and tried to keep the teachers more in the loop. I email all staff all the time. But like I said, in this specific situation, the ball was dropped in different levels of communication. So.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Okay, we will, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will backtrack back to personnel. Let's see further over. Start with resignations.
Oh, I'm up. All right. So, Kayla Haxon has resigned from elementary teacher. She's on to new adventures, so we wish her the best and look forward to her and her husband's next adventure. Okay, I'm trying to find my spot here. Okay, there we go. And we have Wanda Lambot, who would like to be able to watch her daughter playing volleyball next year. So she is going to resign, regrettably, from volleyball. And we all know how great she was at teaching those fundamentals. So that's a sad loss for that program. But she'd still like to volunteer and be involved in girls volleyball. So just want to keep that out there. Norm has put in a lot of effort and worked really hard with the girls last few years and has decided to resign at this time from head girls basketball coach. Shay, who is here with us tonight and has a very long list there, we regret to see leave. and she is resigning from Family Consumer Sciences. I want to note that the FCCLA chapter advisor resignation will not go into effect until July 5th because she's going to stay on helping us fulfill her duties with FCCLA and go on that trip with those students that she's organized. But then we have junior high volleyball and JV volleyball and JV girls basketball. So she will also be moving out of the teacher housing. So her and I are working on dates for that. So I recommend that the board approve their resignations.
I'll move to approve the resignations of Kayla Haxton, Wanda Lambach, Norm Darlington, and Shay Rusma, as presented, noting the July 5th date for FCCLA chapter advisor.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations of Kayla Haxton, Wanda Lambach, Norm Darlington, and Shay Bursama, with the exception of the FCCLA chapter advisor going to July 5th. Any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment, office assistant and office substitute. Brenda Phillips.
So Brenda comes to us, as we talked about at the last meeting, we hired her as a substitute in general, and she has worked in many different capacities in the school since, but she does have experience coming from the Great Falls School District working in the office, and so she will spend some time working with Christy, Melinda Reedy, and I, supporting our work as well as filling in the offices for Wanda and the elementary school office in different areas where she has skills and expertise. So we're excited to bring her on board if you would approve her employment in that capacity.
I'll move to approve Brenda Phillips for office assistant and office substitute.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Brenda Phillips for office assistant and office substitute. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Substitute, Amanda Hazlett.
Amanda Hazlett has offered to substitute for us, and we are super excited to have subs on board.
I'll move to approve Amanda Hazlett for substitute.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Amanda Hazlett for substitute. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment for 2022-2023. Start with contract renewals certified. You guys should have a list. Each one of those is listed on separate pages.
Yep, and we don't have anybody for contract renewal certified. We don't have anybody that falls under that category that's non-tenured. So,
Shay Bursama resigned, and so she would have been up for tenure.
Oh, anyone getting tenure this year, right?
yes, that's what that category means.
Okay, contract non-renewal certified.
Okay, so I recommend that the board non-renew Nicole Austin.
So there's nobody in that category. That would be somebody that's going to tenure.
But
From
there's
the-
people, but isn't there, shouldn't we have a list of people that are not tenured though right now?
Oh, that's this list.
There were two people that would have fallen on that list.
Certified.
And one of them resigned, and one of them, Susie.
And we still have a couple of teachers that are not tenured yet, right? So this says
Right.
tenure. Hannah High School is up for tenure this year, is that why she's on this list? We have a couple in here that are not tenured.
We must have had our years off then.
We must have
So this is
been
supposed to
on
be
years.
the non-tenured group, the first one?
Well, this one, it says tenure at the top, right? So all of the
Right.
teachers you're saying are tenured already?
Uh-huh.
And there's people on here that are not tenured. We just hired,
Oh, like Beth, for example.
Huh?
Like Beth, for example.
And Fed.
Yep.
They should not be on there.
Okay.
I think Ally Bentley's up for tenure this year. This should be her tenure year. Am I so right?
I'm sorry.
Only one I can remember the two Fed.
I should have caught those.
She's the only non-tenured that I think I have in the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so can you guys just one at a time let me know who you have that should not be on, that should be on the contract renewal certified, that we don't have? That would have been our first one. So on that list of tenured, will you just let me know who you have on there that is not up for tenure? So I have,
So I thought Natalie fell under. Beth Roloff.
okay,
Sarah Tiffany.
I've got those three. Okay.
So I'm thinking she was tenured last year. And I think it's Ally. Mrs. Ally Latman should be up for tenure. This should be her tenure year.
Okay.
Should be- I think. I believe so. How many years?
It's on my other computer.
I was gonna say, how many years has Ally been here? This is her tenure. This is her tenure year.
Do you have anyone, Brad?
No.
Okay. So then so Allie would be on tenure or,
So this will be, she's been here 3 years, this will be, 2022 will be the start of her 4th year.
I want to say yes, but.
okay.
I'm pretty
Can we
sure.
take maybe a minute? Is
Can you
it
look
possible to
really
run back
quick?
and
Yeah.
verify this?
Yep, I think she should be up for tenure this year.
We'll take a 10-minute
Recess.
break.
Okay.
COVID and all of that, I'm confused, but I think.
I'm gonna lead this role, just so you know.
Okay.
Hot mic?
Yes.
So those three are being moved to this first one?
Because the issue is, if you do this whole list, everybody on there is tenured, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you got
First thing I
Megan
had three.
off. Did you get that? Did she say that one?
Yeah.
She said that.
So,
If we have their third year, then they're up for tenure, right? I think it is.
The board's taking the time to take a quick break. I will put the mic on mute. Stay tuned. Hang in there. We're still on mute. We're waiting. Should be next 5 minutes or so. We'll be back on air. Hang in.
Mike is live.
Okay, I apologize for the delay in that. We had a list of names that we weren't quite sure on. I wanted to make sure we got it right. So we will start again. Contract renewals certified.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to double check. Sorry, I didn't have that all straight. Okay, so I recommend that we renew the contracts following: certified teachers Laura Ashman, Allison Bakken, Denise Bockham, Brittany Bancroft, Jeremy Bartlett, Gary Bowman, Darlene Beck, Magali Bellinger, Megan Bliley, Jamie Cameron, Adam Clearly, Carrie Eichinger, Terry Fisher, Jill Flynn, Kelsey Flynn, Christine Gillespie, Shayna Gillespie, Kim Gillespie, Angie Giono, Kim Gilligan, Wendy Gravely, Molly Hanson, Christina Hartman, Dan Hazlitt, Sherry Heverin, Jennifer Hoppy, Joe Horn, Ann Ingram, Lisa Larson, David Lawson, Jamie Lawson, Aubrey Lewis, Jim O'Loughley, Mara McDonald, Lindsay Moldenhauer, John Odell, Brad Rock, Missy Rock, Travis Rao, Janelle Robichon, thank you, Pete Robichon, Beth Roloff, Mike Shinigan, Alan Severide, Sarah Schaefer, Anna Shearer, James Schindel, Sarah Tiffany, Dana Tuffelmeyer, Levi Van Zee, Clint Watson, and Liz Wishman. The principals will be separate on a different item, but
Okay, now, and point of clarification, those are both tenured and non-tenured, correct?
yes.
The ones that aren't moving
Correct, okay, okay.
from one class to the other.
Okay, so I move to approve the hire of the certified personnel as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the presented list of certified personnel. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, motion passed. Contract non-renewal certified.
Okay, I recommend to non-renew without cause Nicole Austin, non-tenured teacher, in accordance with section 20-4-206 MCA.
Okay, now I'll move to, and the motion I need to make is this verbiage. Consideration of recommendation and non-renew without cause the employment of Nicole Austin, a non-tenured teacher, in accordance with section 20-4-206 MCA.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to consider the recommendation to non-renew without cause the employment of Nicole Austin, a non-tenured teacher, in accordance with section 20-4-206 MCA. Is there any discussion? Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Contract renewal certified tenure.
I recommend the renewal of the certified teachers that will be moving to tenure, which includes Allie Lampman and Miranda Howells.
Okay, I move to approve the hire of those certified personnel receiving tenure, Allie Lampman and Miranda House.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of certified personnel receiving tenure, Allie Lampman and Miranda Howells. Is there any discussion? Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Contract renewal classified.
I recommend the board approve the following renewal of classified staff: Catherine Allen, Gail Blair, Luke Carr, Linda Chamberlain, Shaylee Chaplin, Teresa Connor, Lori Check, Roger Check, Daniel Douglas, Cassidy Driscoll, Allison Vieira, Laura Frazier, Joe Gill, Thomas Graham, Vicky Harvey, Kay Ingalls, Chelsea Landers, John Bernard, Kay Mativier, Wanda Moldenhauer, Richard Neighbor, Tatiana Neighbor, Shane Neal, Suzanne Neal, Steve Oja, Melinda Reedy, James Riddle, Sheila Riviera, Nicole Sandage, Tia Sanford, Christy Sangray, Ed Schindel, Lorinda Stokey, Sarah Tell Whiteman, Vicki Thomason, April Toll, Cindy Wheeling, and Tim Williams.
There's one name on that doesn't work here. They haven't worked here. Tia Sanford, she does the library story hour. So she works a couple hours a month.
Yep, I signed the check. So
No more finding mistakes here.
I can see why they would question it. Mhm.
Okay, so move to approve the hire of classified personnel as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of the classified personnel as presented. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Contract renewal, fall and winter activities.
Okay, and hopefully I got this one right. You were gonna look at it after negotiations for me, but obviously we saw how that went. So, here we go. Okay, I recommend we renew the following for fall and winter activities. Junior high football, Justin Hovland and Gary Bowman. Junior high cross country, Daniel Reagan. High school cross country, Brooke Dolan. Head high school football coach, Travis Rao. Justin Sell, Josh Leonard, Dan Hazlett, and Joe Horn are the assistants. High school volleyball, Megan Bliley and Jenny Lee Bird. Junior high volleyball, Angie Tu. Junior high girls basketball, Chase Reagan and Courtney Johnson. Fall play, Denise Bockham. Speech and drama, Denise Bockham. Junior high boys basketball, Gary Bowman and Kevin Reed. High school wrestling, John Odell, Mike Schnittgen, James Rocher, and Harry Hall. High school boys basketball, Kirk Flynn and David Lawson. Junior high wrestling, Harry Hall and John Odell. Athletic director, John Odell. Spring play, Denise Bockham. National Honor Society, Laura Ashman. Tennis, John Odell, Lindsay Moldenhauer, and Amy White. Golf, Pete Robichon and Wendy Gravely. High school track, Travis Rao, Pat Hamilton, Angie Tu, and Brooke Dolan. Junior high track, Jamie Lawson, Allie Lampman, Missy Rock. Concessions, Brittany Bancroft. Annual Joe Horn. Student council, Allie Lampman.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna hold it. We did cross into that spring list.
Oh.
Yep. So we should stop.
Oh, I did. Tennis and golf are definitely spring. All right, and spring play.
Junior high wrestling would be considered winter. Yes.
It's over. Yeah, it's done.
So basically, athletic director, I think, is where we need to stop.
Okay. I was on a roll.
Yeah, I think, because then the other ones are on.
They're all in the
spring.
summer. Yeah.
Well, we have to.
Do we want, has there been discussion before about incoming, I know there has been discussion before about incoming head coaches and their assistants.
Right, the head coach, my understanding, has the ability to change that up. Is that what?
Well, yeah, but not if you're off contract. I know there's been discussion amongst head coaches before. I don't have a problem with either one of those, obviously, but I know that.
So
So in the instance where we don't have a head coach,
Boys basketball would be the only one I think of this list that applies to that. Well, we don't have anybody on girls. Right?
no,
Well, what about high school football?
But the head coach is intact, he would have made any changes.
Okay.
Because then the head coach evaluates and recommends for renewal
So incoming,
for each of those.
incoming new head coaches is what you're speaking to.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe there's probably been discussion with the AD about that, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And I just know it came up once.
so we could table the high school
High school
boys basketball positions upon hire of the head coach.
High school boys basketball, and which other one did you say?
That would be the only one that it would
The girls,
apply
we don't
to.
have anybody in that.
We don't have anyone under the head coach hired.
Yeah, and then with anybody who's been there, again, to that point, they've been already vetted essentially by the head coach.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing.
And you worry about the rest of it. I mean, no one loses, but.
So yeah, we'll pull high school boys basketball. The two assistant coaches will wait
Okay.
until we fill that head coach.
So I recommend the renewal of the extracurricular contracts for fall and winter activities up to athletic director that I read off. And with the tabling of the high school basketball coaches and up until a head coach is hired.
I move to approve the hire of fall activities advisor personnel as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the hire of the fall activity advisor personnel. as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Other contracts, summer counselor, head librarian, dual credits, summer feeding, summer driver's education program, driver's education, and extended ag contract.
Can I ask a question just really quickly again? Just because I don't remember, when do we typically renew spring?
We usually do it in the fall.
In the fall,
It's
like
usually-
September.
Right, because of course, we're in the middle of the spring season,
Yeah.
so we don't want to do
Right.
those coaches when you're still in the middle of their season. So we have broken that up. But usually, I think it's either September, October that we do the spring.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay, so I recommend that we approve the head librarian, Angie Giono, dual credit teachers, Laura Ashman and Darlene Beck, summer feeding program workers, Danielle Douglas and Brenda Phillips, summer driver's education, Alan Severide, driver's education, Alan Severide, and an extended aid contract to Jim O'Loughley.
I move to approve the hire of the summer contracts as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of the aforementioned list of summer. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Administrative hires.
I recommend the rehire of Christy Sangre, Brad Rock, Sherry Heverin, Christina Hartman for the 2022-2023 school year because I can't do it without them.
I'll move to approve the hire of Christy Sangre, Brad Rock, Sherry Heverin, and Christina Hartman pending negotiations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Christy Sangre, Brad Rock, Sherry Heverin, and Christina Hartman pending negotiations. Is there any discussion?
I was just curious as to when those negotiations may take place.
Soon.
Yep.
We're trying to get
Everything slammed together. I know, so, yeah, so much to do.
Mostly we were waiting on the budget numbers, so that we could negotiate with the classified. So we got some insight on the budget now, and obviously started with the classified. Yes, I want to move on to the principals ASAP.
It's still really challenging. Our title allocations have been delayed until May, which is a big piece of our budget. It's just kind of hard to get really good numbers for negotiation.
And that's a federal thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then obviously we kind of just need to figure out where we're at and where we need to be. And then we use those levies and those mills to balance that out, as well as our other funding streams to see where we pull from to balance our budget. So.
We're gonna have a pie auction to see if we can give them a raise.
You can join Shave's car wash. Join Shave's car wash.
Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. All right, we did the other one, principals report. Mrs. Hartman.
I don't even remember what I had. I had a list in my
Just a
office.
second, and Vanessa mentioned this too, and of course, we didn't have a summer counselor. Any ideas? I mean, there was a spot where are we at with that, or are we gonna have a summer counselor or consider it or not? What do you
Yes,
think?
and I haven't even gotten to complete this conversation with Mrs.
Okay.
Heverin, but
That's fine.
we have an internal transfer, which she knows this part of Mr. Schninigan to the high school that we're working on, his transfer to the high school, and he would be interested in fulfilling the summer requirements because that's part of what you need to get school up and running. So Miss Audette would be helping him and has offered, to help mentor him into that position. So
Just for the summer, or did you mean?
No, permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the summer part of that, just a quick reminder, that was just those free flex days that Mrs. Audette could use when we were trying to figure out the kids' schedules before school starts and the end of the year stuff she has to do, and it's definitely needed, especially with a new person stepping in.
Because a counselor right now is a 10-month contract, and then we need the extra flex days in the summer, did I remember?
Yeah, we
Do I
want to make
remember
sure that
9-month
we
or 10-month
compensate
contract?
them for those days that they need to do scheduling.
Right.
I
Because
couldn't
they spend
remember.
a lot of extra time before
Yeah.
school starts and at the end of school goes last. She would spend actually a lot of time, the 2 weeks that were extended and start early, so that we can make sure everything is ready to roll and in place. So.
Mhm.
All right, thank you for that.
And then we have 2 applicants so far to interview, and we have some interviews already scheduled for the elementary counselor position.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
We got our first special ed full-time application, and then we have another one that put in for part-time, and so we're excited to get any applications in that one because there's lots of openings in the state. So, and then we have quite a few teacher applicants, so we're getting ready to set up interviews for those for some of our vacancies.
Take it away.
Okay.
Oh, should I say that for my report?
It's all good.
I was trying to say that.
It's all good.
Thanks.
So just an update on the reading program. I know we haven't adopted it yet, but they are asking for me to finalize dates for training because their August fills up really fast. So I have finalized training with them. We are going to do it the same week as Tech Week. And just each grade level will be like a half a day, so they'll still be able to attend some tech time as well. So hopefully, once the committee meets and we'll move forward on that, then I can actually give them a final go-ahead, but we did lock in some dates. Kindergarten roundup, so far, we have approximately 40 kindergartners for next year that are part of our roundup. So that's just for the kindergarten roundup, and we usually see many more after that. So we'll see how many more in the next, 3 weeks that we have, 2 weeks that have before the kindergarten roundup on May 6th. If we have any more registered for that. And, but that still leaves us with 60 first graders so far for next year that will be moving from our kindergarten into first grade. So we are capped out in first grade already by moving our kindergarten up. So we're gonna definitely have to look at first grade and what we're gonna do with that next year. Because we know we'll get new ones. The COVID protocol attendance, not seeing anything, everything's been really good there, cross our fingers. Summer camps, we have discussed during the construction meetings that we are going to hold summer camps off campus this year. What I've actually done is try to book more of them that, since we haven't been able to do any traveling in the last couple of years, we'll do a little more traveling with our camps this year. Things like Mr. Odell is going to do a ghost town camp with middle school. He's going to do a mining camp with middle school. We've got one where they'll go to water parks. So things like that. So we're actually getting them off campus. The littler kids, it's a little tougher to do. So like K2, I've set it up to use the lodge with a lot of those camps. So we are still set to have those camps move forward, just to look a little bit different this year. We have spring break coming up, and our spring concert is April 28th at 6 p.m.
Question? With the onset of more, video type meetings and Zoom meetings and those kind of things, one of the things we've seen is a lot of students that have private counseling outside of school. It used to be a situation where they would leave school, go visit the counselor and come back. It's great now that parents don't have to make the commute or come pick them up or whatever, but one of the issues we kind of run into is trying to find available space for those students to have some privacy, to sit on a computer or phone or whatever and meet with their counselor. And that's, as we start to kind of fill up every available space in our school, sometimes that can be a challenge. And something we kind of need to keep in mind, I think, as we move into the new building and have a little more available space, that's a need we have. And it's pretty critical that they have privacy for that. Usually somebody is displaced for that to happen. So just something we kind of work through as it comes up. State testing is going on right now. And this year, we've talked a lot throughout the year of the number of students that move in during the school year. One of the things that happens is if a student moves from a district where they have not been tested yet and they move within the testing window, we're responsible to get them tested. And that kind of creates a pretty significant challenge trying to get all those made up. Because again, somebody has to be available to administer those tests. And so students that are transitioning kind of in the spring, we run into that quite a bit and get those made up. Our substitute needs are still probably bigger than ever. Probably seeing right now the biggest shortage that we've seen in a while this year during events. We run into, traditionally in the spring, we run into teachers are in a kind of lose it or use it situation with personal days. A lot of events that they are involved in or their kids are involved in. So we end up being short quite a bit this time of year. And teachers have all submitted their requisitions, and in middle school, they were very, very reasonable. And I think I just kind of commend them and always kind of keeping an eye toward the budget and realizing, what balancing their needs and wants with what the school has available to get for them. And so they make it relatively easy for me to go through those, and I appreciate that. And we are winding down in a hurry. You always think you have a whole lot of time left. And here we are in the middle of April and still a long to-do list. A lot of things I was going to do in September that are still on that list.
All
right, so, as you can see, kind of a long congratulatory list. We had several of our, groups and organizations finish all of their activities at the end of their year. As you already heard, FCCLA had a great showing at their state competition. FFA had a great showing at their state competition. I believe the Party Pro team took fourth. And then I know our own Colton Noyes got his state degree, and I believe there were some other individual awards in there as well. So they had a really great year again. BPA students finished their season and competed well. And then we just had Skills USA this past weekend and District Music Festival. So all of those took place. Most of it in Helena, some in Bozeman, kind of all over the place. We were running from location to location this weekend, but excuse me, Clint's Skills USA team, 3 out of the 6 students medaled at the state competition, so that's outstanding. The Deal brothers have cornered the market on cabinet making. They just took first and second right away. So that was really fun. I was really happy that it was in Helena this year instead of in Havre, so I actually got to go, and that was fun to watch those kids get into it. Some of the stuff is very high level with tech, and they did really well. Really proud of them all. So that was great. We also had our academic Olympics team go, and they ended up placing 4th overall in Bozeman, which sent them to State Quiz Bowl, and so they competed at Quiz Bowl, got 4th, and now they're headed to a next state competition here in April coming up. So again, kids just keep performing well at those venues and events. The academic Olympics in Bozeman, they actually placed well considering all of the, I think they placed 7th overall, and that's double A's, A's, everybody in the mix, Billings, Skyview, and they're competing against everybody. So that's always a fun one as well. Spring activities were underway until this week, screech and halt this week, but we definitely, you look at the calendar and it is full. So we did have, I think as of the end of the school day today, everything was pretty much canceled for the rest of this week because of weather. So I'm dealing with, a lot of it was in Livingston, a lot of it, it's just not happening with all the weather issues we have going on this week. So we'll get back up and running when we get back off spring break. Tuesday's a busy day. There is a little of everything going on Tuesday, which doesn't help with that sub situation, but we get it figured out by the end of the day. So we're right in the middle of job shadows. I know we do that program with our juniors, and then we actually ran I did our seniors this fall because they missed out because of COVID. We were trying to get them back into the rotation there. So far I've gotten some pictures of kids doing different things. We had a few go on Monday. I believe actually Bradson might have done today. I think Brian might have done today, and then we have quite a few going tomorrow, and then we have a few outliers that are fitting in as well. So that is a curriculum component as well. They'll do an assignment in Mrs. Flynn's class with a write-up about their job shadow, and they had some very formal things, including thank you letters back to the businesses and companies that let them shadow. Several here in town, which is always awesome. Quite a few in Helena as well. So that's a lot of fun. I know we actually had one of our students go up and job shadow the fire department in Great Falls because he has relatives up there. So that was great. He had a blast. So a lot of fun. Good exposure for kids. We have Safe as a Bulldog Week coming up with prom a little later. We usually run that during the same week as our prom. And so I know Mrs. Flynn and Mrs. Audette with Youth Council have a big assembly plan for one day that week, and then a lot of small activities, just making good choices and being safe. So I think they're kind of going to set up kind of a safety fair in the gym and have kids rotate through booths, and they're in the throes of getting that planned right now. So that'll be a fun activity for our students. And as you can see, a few things on the schedule. Obviously spring break, we're already at mid-quarter, quarter 4 here next week. Concerts are coming up. I have them listed there, the 25th, that Monday, middle school, 26th is high school, that Tuesday. Those are both at 7. And then, as Christina said, the elementary is the 28th at 6. And we'll have the prom on the 30th. And then we have our spring musicals. The 6th and the 7th, they'll do 2 performances at 7 p.m. So rolling along.
And what's graduation? Which they
22nd, actually.
22nd, 22nd.
Yes. And I'm sure we'll all have plenty to share with our next May board meeting about graduation, what we're looking at. I think that's usually when we, make decision about who's gonna help with what. and all those things.
Very good. Now it's your turn to finish up.
All right, I'm ready, so I'm gonna keep it quick tonight. But I do want to say and just bring some positive back that I've had a lot of fun with the students lately in a lot of different ways. It's been really fun to get to work with some of our new little ones and welcome them to the school, and then also to get to know some of the high school kids better through their activities and participating in some of their different events. It was really nice to be invited to FFA and be able to help out down there and get to drive the kids around and kind of chat with those teenagers and get to know them a little better. And then it was fun, like, for example, watching, Evan working on his fish. I remember when Joe was just start helping him, they were just kind of mapping it out on the AutoCAD. Is that what it was? Yeah. And so just from like seeing it from what he had in mind and then actually come to fruition and become something incredible that he welded and got an award for at the Skills USA competition was really cool. So just to get to know these kids throughout the year and watch them learn and grow and build relationships with them has been super fun. And then I just really appreciate everyone I work with here and your guys' support throughout the year. And I can't believe, we're getting close. Keep telling those seniors we're almost there, Sherry and I. So I really appreciate it. I really enjoy it. I don't think I'd rather be anywhere else. I like being still in the school and being involved, where in those other larger districts I've talked to Jason a little bit about, I would hate that, where you're just in an office, and distance from everyone. So I love being involved and getting to be a part of things and working with the kids and working with this group as a team. So I'm just want to end on that note. I don't have anything too critical, just that obviously we have lots of committee meetings and work to get done still this year, and our policy meeting coming up. And then I've been spending a lot of time on insurance and finished up the contracts and all that fun stuff. But I've been taking breaks and spending time with the kids, which is really awesome. So that's it.
Very good. Anything else? Okay. Well, I apologize for the little mix-up there in the middle, but I think I spent a little too much time preparing for the negotiation and not as much on the agenda. But we made it through it. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. That was my fault, not yours. So.